Thanks. I think we have a quorum. So let me call the meeting to order. I would first off, I know it's not on the agenda, but I would like to welcome Mindy. I believe she is our newest member of the Open Space Committee. If you want to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us why you chose to join us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate that. So I've been in San Anselmo about 4 years, and my interest in open space started when we first moved in, and I kind of was like wandering around the neighborhood and found myself winding up the stairs and magically Fog Park, which I hope I will learn if that's the correct pronunciation or not, but kind of wandering up there, and then all of a sudden we saw the bay, and honestly had no idea that even existed, and I call it my walkabout now. So every day I pretty much that I am able kind of go through that and through Storage Park, and just think it's pretty magical. So love it. And my husband actually had volunteered on to pick some weeds one day, and they told him that there was an opening for the committee. So he mentioned that to me, and I applied. And my background and what I've done for the last 15 or so years is advertising and marketing. So I'm excited to kind of dive in and understand how I can help from that lens. I think with social media and whatnot, there's probably some things that could be valuable for getting the word out for volunteer opportunities and fundraising. So.
Wow, perfect addition.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
And I believe Karen also successfully made it back on our panel, right?
Yeah, I was sweating bullets in that interview, trust me.
Also, Renee was reappointed.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And who else was?
Peter.
Peter was, that's right.
Peter and Danny.
And Danny. Yeah, it was a big crowd.
Well, congratulations to all. I will move on. The first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the October 21, 2020 meeting. Has everyone been given a copy? I know Danny sent that out a couple of days ago, yesterday or the day before. You're muted, Danny. Danny, you're muted.
Yeah, I know. I got it. Thanks, Dan. I did send it on Monday. I don't know if anybody had a chance to review it.
So I've reviewed the minutes. I think they're excellent as always, and I'm ready to make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Do I hear a second? Peter, I saw your hand go up.
Yep.
Are you seconding? All right. Any discussion on the minutes before we vote?
I just wanted to see if, do we know what the last 4 numbers in Kathy's phone number are? I want to make sure that I unmute her if she needs to vote.
Well, she's calling from her regular phone is 5476. I'll have to quick look and see about her cell phone. Hang on.
Yeah, she's in Carmel, so she might be using somebody else's phone number too. Well, for the purposes of the minutes, I don't think her vote's going to be determinative. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The next agenda item we will need Kathy, so I think we're going to have to skip that, and hopefully she'll join us.
I'm gonna, the person that's in the audience with the last 4 digits, 8654, I'll allow you to talk. So if you could tell us if it's Kathy or someone else, that would be great.
So this is Kathy.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes, I just got unmuted. Thank you. You want the treasurer's report?
Yeah, if you're ready, Kathy, you're up.
Okay. Checking has 570. Savings has $66,368. The fund checking has 200, and the fund itself has 220,000. $2,259. So we have a total of $287,197. We have spent quite a bit of money this month, so we are down $1,634. I can go through what we spent. The calendars we spent $1,372 on. For the newsletter, $799 to print. And we did a website update, which was $90. And to mail out the newsletter was $770. Am I still here?
Yeah, Kathy,
Yep.
you're good.
Okay, good. That's it.
Kathy, I just had a question just to confirm on the savings. That was 66,368, or what was the number?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I jump in here and make an addition?
Yeah, you've stopped by town hall to see if we've gotten any checks or any
Correct.
mail. Yep.
So as of today, I picked up 9 checks from the newsletter mailing for a total of $775 in donations.
Right.
And then to date, I've delivered 24 calendars, including some extra donation money. The total is $490.
Sounds good. Any other discussion on the treasurer's report before we move on? No? Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is to discuss the sales of our fundraising calendar, which is in progress. Do you want to talk about that, Jonathan, or?
Please.
Yeah.
So I'll start out with some updates. There's some really exciting news that I can tell you that I had confirmed this evening. There's a business in San Anselmo, a realty firm, that's going to purchase 100 calendars at a significant discount, but they're buying 100 calendars from us at $10 each, so we're getting $1,000 right off the bat there. And this is through the good graces of the Fairfax Open Space Committee. Susan Barron directed that towards us rather than them. So that's really good news. Let's see. So there's a couple of opportunities for sales coming up. Today I was at Town Hall and took out a business license, which we needed in order to set up in front of the Town Hall. So we have the paperwork. So Nancy was interested in doing this, but we can now set up a table and sell calendars right in front of Town Hall. So we'll need to organize that, get volunteers, and do that. There's also a potential opportunity to set up a table at the Andronico's Safeway store. That's still getting sorted out with the management there, but I'd like to find out if there's anybody that's motivated and has the time to man a table there if we get permission. The other thing is, so I've been doing all the fulfillment so far from Stan's email that he put out to our list, and from the newsletter. We've been getting both phone calls and emails, which I have been following up with and delivering and arranging for delivery, but I'd really like to pass that on to somebody else now for the next phase. Fairly time-consuming, and I have a lot going on, and I just as soon if somebody else would do it, pass that responsibility on. So we want to talk about that. And the last thing is, I've been discussing with Susan, the chair of the Fairfax Open Space Committee, the gifting of some calendars to certain deserving or important people. And so far, I wanted to let you know we've We gave a couple to the designer because she donated all of her services to design the calendar. So we gave her 4 calendars. So we're responsible for 2 of those. The artists all get one that donated photography. So that's Renee and I got a calendar. I gave one to Elise. We gave one to Katie Rice. We gave one to Marin County Parks. The family of Jamie Redford, who passed away recently, who was very instrumental in raising money for Sky Ranch, and also the family of Huey Johnson, towering conservation figure here in Marin County. And I gave one to Nancy Nichols. So those are the ones we put out gratis. And the question is now, I'm thinking it might be a nice gesture to give one to each of the town council members here in San Anselmo. So I want to just get people's buy-in with that. So, yeah, I guess number 1, somebody to take on fulfillment. Number 2, we need to get volunteers for manning the table in front of Town Hall, and then some buy-in on donating a calendar to each of the council members, and then maybe other options that we might have for marketing. We do want to hopefully get it listed in the town newsletter that Dave Donnery distributes. But before I brought that up with the town, I wanted to sort out the fulfillment before we get a lot more requests.
Jonathan, can you give us a breakdown on the statistics? We took on 275 calendars total, right?
Correct.
And 100 of them are going to the realtor. So it leaves 175. How many have we already sold?
24 that I've sold. I don't know if any of the other committee members have sold any yet, but I personally delivered 24.
I took 10, which I still have to pay for.
Yeah, I have a list of everybody that has them. Kathy took 10, Stan, you have 5, Peter took 6, Renee took 5, Danny took 10, and Paul Fox took 10.
Okay. So how many are we left with then? 2 sell.
About 150.
And how many are we giving away, you said?
Giving away 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11.
So 139. So we got to sell 139 before New Year's.
The good news is that we've already covered our cost. So everything from now on will be profit.
Listen, Mindy, I am happy. Oh,
Go ahead, Mindy.
Nancy, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking about going to sell them in front of Town Hall and looking at the weather forecast. We don't have for December. It might be a good time that people might be shopping for gifts, and also end of the year, adding people to our list. This Saturday looks good, but I'm also thinking that we need to have it in the town newsletter, which comes out on Saturday. But I'm thinking right now that if the weather's nice on Saturday, which it should be, it might be good to start with a relatively guaranteed good weather day. If I would be willing to do it, if I can get some help, particularly with setting up some of the things, which, the tables and all of that.
Nancy, this is Jonathan here. I think the Fairfax Open Space Committee has done some marketing. They've been at some farmers markets and I think in front of some other stores. And I believe they have some materials that maybe we could borrow,
That would be,
marketing materials.
that would
I can
be-
check on that.
Yeah, but does that sound like a good idea to people? And anyone want to join me?
I can help.
I would love to join. I can't this Saturday. So, but if we end up with the Andronicos, or if there's any help I can do on that one, I'm happy to do that. And I'm also happy to do the fulfillment. So I can take that on.
That Mindy?
Yes, sorry, that's Mindy.
Okay, hi there. That's great. I should probably get with you and go over, sort of the process I've been using.
Yeah.
And I'll need to get you some calendars too, and the envelopes and all that.
Right. Okay.
Nancy, I
Well, we
really
can
wish
hook
I
up.
could help you, but with the COVID surge coming up, I also work weekends at the hospital. So I can't, but I do have a table, you know, one of those
Mm,
fold open large, you know, they're the large tables.
I have one of those too, but I can't manage a lot of that stuff right now. I mean, I'd be willing to do it alone if I had someone at the beginning and the end.
I can help you, Nancy.
Who's it? That
That's Brian Crawford.
yeah, that would be great. And
Right.
we could also look into December on a nice day, Mindy.
Yeah.
Because I think in some ways I like the idea of doing it in the town center of town.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people biking through a lot of there's a lot of action on Saturday morning, midday.
Jonathan, or
Yeah.
I was curious, do you have any sense of how Fairfax is done as far as selling it in front of any stores or other places, as far as how, have any got feedback?
I have not. I can ask Susan about that.
I was just thinking
They're doing really well, though. They've sold a lot. Not sure, but they've sold a lot of calendars so far. But she's very motivated.
there's also Good Earth is much more of a hub of a market that people pass by all the time than Andronico's, which is, you know, something that I don't see as very crowded or having much foot traffic relative to Good Earth.
That's kind of moving in on their territory.
No, I wasn't suggesting Good Earth. I'm just saying that I think that I wouldn't see as much foot traffic at Andronico's, at least when I go there, which is not that often.
There's more at Red Hill, I
My
think.
neighbors to commit. We've got a pretty close
Yeah.
neighborhood, so I'll be hitting them up for sure.
No, I think we've done pretty good for the amount of effort that we've put in. You know, I mean, we've at least broken even, which was my goal from the get-go, not to lose money on this. So, right, Kathy?
Before we leave, can I just get a consensus? Is everybody okay with giving one to the council members?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Good.
And I just have, oh, go ahead, Nancy.
Well, I also wanted to say that I would see this as an opportunity to have people sign up for our email list. And if we only have their address, they may come by and start doing that as well as selling calendars. And also have copies of the newsletter there.
Yeah, well, I migrated our emails over to a MailChimp account, which you probably all got the blast when I sent it out, because I think I put everybody on the committee on it. So it's about 157, 158 people. There's some people have unsubscribed after that. But the next thing is I can send out the newsletter through the same email list. So I didn't want to do the two back to back. So I wanted to ask the committee what they think about sending the newsletter out, the PDF version again on, and maybe this is, Mindy, something you can take on, because I am not a marketing person, but we were unable to get, you know, a mass email thing out. So I opened up the MailChimp. What was it, Danny, about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, probably about that.
Yeah. And we have a Facebook account that has about 300 or 400 people that have friended it or whatever. And we really don't make use of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask who currently manages that. And then the other thing I noticed, I didn't see at least an Instagram account. And I think because that's a really visual platform. So the fact that we have beautiful spaces to show off, I'd love to entertain that if that's something you guys would be willing to do. I could open that and, you know, then I had all sorts of things going around in my head about how we could leverage that going forward. So.
Well, I think we can do that on the next agenda item, because I was talking about the website.
Perfect.
But I'd love to turn over these responsibilities to somebody that knows what they're doing. So on this fundraising, the calendar agenda item, Jonathan, are you good with what we've decided? Do we have anything else we need to decide?
Not right now.
No? Any other discussion necessary on this?
Yeah, if Nancy and I are going to be doing this on Saturday, we're going to need calendars, newsletters, that stuff. I guess you have those, Jonathan?
I do.
The business license?
I'm going to be giving up a lot of them to Mindy.
Okay, and can you give us some so that we can set up a table?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I may have to get some more from Susan. I got 150 from Susan, and the balance are in her garage, so I may have to get some more from her. But yeah, I'll get them to you.
okay, and do we need to clear this with the town that we're going to be
I've
doing?
done it. I got us a business license. I talked to Carla today. I was at town hall, and Elise and the Public Works Department gave us the okay, so we're good to go.
All right, so we don't have to have a license to waive or post or anything?
I have a copy of the license you can take with you.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Moving on to the next agenda item.
Hang on a sec. Jonathan, you also wanted somebody to take over the delivering the fulfillment of the calendars.
Mindy volunteered to do that.
All right. Moving on.
Unless you feel the urge, the calling, Brian.
Nope.
No? Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item. We are to discuss upgrading the Open Space Committee website. And I believe the reason for this is we tried to put a pay window on our website in order to allow people to buy the calendars online. And we were unable to do that. So that's why we're discussing it, right, Jonathan?
That's correct. So if I can jump in here, I'm sorry to monopolize the airtime so much, but so I consulted with our designer, the person who created the website, Nancy Nichols, and Kate Benton, who designed the calendar and the newsletter for us, and also does web design and maintenance. And they looked at the website, and the fact is it was made about 13 years ago now on a software program called Dreamweaver, which is no longer in existence and not supported. And it has virtually no security. And they really advised that we not try on there for. And it's actually really hard to update because the software is so difficult to deal with anymore. So the recommendation is that we migrate it over to a more modern kind of software, which can be done, and it's just a matter of paying for it. I got a rough estimate, and this is very rough, from Nancy Nichols for her to sit down and transfer it over to something called Squarespace. I don't know about any of this stuff, but she mentioned that, and she thought it might be about $500 to recreate it. And then once that's done, then we can update it, change it, add stuff, whatever ourselves. She said it's very easy to go in and change it then.
And how about adding a point of sale, not even a point of sale, but people that want to make donations, they can make donations online?
I'm sure there's a way to do that. I don't know how, but there's no doubt a way.
Does this $500 also correct the security issues?
Yes.
Yeah, the discussion, from what I understand, is that we haven't had a problem with the website being attacked because there is no money. But as soon as we added the money component, a point of sale, then that just makes it a target for everybody out there on the World Wide Web to try to get into and hack into it, and we don't have the security to protect ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, so both Nancy and Kate have had horrendous experiences recently with hacking. Apparently, since COVID-19, there's just been a explosion worldwide. I mean, Kate had one website she manages for some artist hacked from Russia. So it's a real serious concern.
Yeah, I've certainly, we do a lot of website builds just at our company that, I mean, I would certainly advise or vote for upgrading, out of Dreamweaver. So.
It's $500.
So the question is,
Mindy?
It seems really cheap, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, but and I think it'd be nice to be able to just kind of modernize some of it, as well while we're upgrading. I have lots of folks I could tap into that also might be willing to volunteer some time, as well. But 500, yeah, I mean, I don't think that seems unreasonable.
We are a nonprofit. Yeah, Danny, sorry.
That's fine. Go ahead, Stan.
I was just saying, we are a nonprofit trying to raise money.
I know, but $500 is very inexpensive. So my guess is going to cost more unless people donate their time,
Yeah.
which I know that the two who've been working on it have been very generous with their time. So I'm not faulting them whatsoever. So it just depends. I think we should be ready to need to spend a little bit more. I think that's just a general estimate that Jonathan got,
That's
and
right.
So we don't know if that's going to be what it actually is. So I don't know if they're planning to do it, Jonathan, or if if looking for anybody else to do it, if they're going to build it. I'm sorry.
Well, that's why I have it on the agenda tonight. I haven't, I've just discussed it with them. I've given no direction or anything. I'm just putting it out there for discussion in case, so that we can get direction on which way to go, whether to have one of them do it, try to find some volunteers, go outside. I mean, both these women are already kind of in our circle and work with us, and they're fantastic. And I trust them and know they'll do a good job. So my inclination is to either use Kate or Nancy.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think we should use them unless, we're not sure that they're capable, but if they believe that they can put it together, they've, like you said, been very generous. I think the only thing is Nancy, I don't know anything about her capabilities, but she just hasn't been as involved lately. And obviously we had an antiquated system. So it's more a matter of, Kate's been, really prompt. And so I think there's two elements. One is just their ability and for them to maybe come back to us with more of a little bit of better estimate, unless they will confirm that it's $500. And then the other part that I think often could change, and that just takes more work on our part sometimes, is the content. I don't think we need to expand it necessarily substantially, but the look and feel sometimes can be changed a little bit. And I don't know, maybe Mindy may have some ideas on that, as well as Kate might have some other ideas. I think she came in with something that she wasn't going to be changing. So she may have some ideas about, kind of making it a little bit more interesting, and some other, fonts and designs and elements like that sometimes can improve a site quite a bit.
Yeah, I would concur as well. And I think I would defer to Mindy as well for an overarching kind of social media strategy. I mean, you identified we don't even have a Twitter account. We have this Facebook account that I think Brian posts whenever he wants a work party on there, and that's about it. It's really not used, even though people, like, I think it's almost 400 people have friended it. So, I mean, I think we can do much better.
Stanley, you misspoke. We don't need a Twitter account, but we could use Instagram.
Oh, sorry.
Your tech geekness is coming out.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Yeah, but
So no, but anyway.
I get emails when someone likes the Facebook page, and that's probably 5 or 6 a week, maybe. And, I don't respond to them. It just seems like it might be nice to have something that we could do to just say, yeah, thanks, thanks for joining us, and here's how you can help, and keep an eye on the website, but since it changes once every 3 years, no one is watching it.
You know, Brian, that's not a bad idea. I get the same emails. I think we both have. And who else has access? Stan does, right? Yeah. And so I think the three of us are the administrators on that. And it would be good. I'd be willing to at least respond to people if they have anything to comment on. And I can just say, you know, thank you for your insight, or, you know, thank you for caring, or whatever, something like that. But you're right. It would be nice to recognize people who are actually making a comment.
Right.
Can I
So,
make a suggestion? We need to change the photo, the very first thing. I only looked at it for the first time recently over at Brian's house because I don't look at social media at all. But that picture of the bridge does not do justice to what we're doing.
Well, you said you were going to get me a picture, Jonathan. I never got it.
Okay. I'll put it on my list.
so just to clarify, we're talking about hiring one of these women to migrate the website to a more modern platform and fix the security, and that's it, right? It'll look just the same, just the security fixed, and we'll be able to access it and modify it more easily. Is that your
That's the
understanding?
plan, yeah.
But
I would assume that it won't look exactly the same. Like, I think there's templates that they would start with, and it'll probably look a
Right.
little more modern, would be my guess.
right, I think we should, at this point, if we're gonna do this, we should try to improve the site. It doesn't have to be a wholesale major change, but I think this is the opportunity to make some changes to the look and feel of the site. And you know, I think Kate seems to have a good eye for that, and I'm sure, you know, others could help if they want to. It's always a matter of, do you want to have do we have a subcommittee that handles that as maybe the appropriate way to deal with it? And, you know, that's the other part of it. The other thing I was going to note, and I don't know about the security part too much, but I know that I think it's called an SSL certificate. I think that's actually fairly expensive, and that helps increase the security. And I'm not sure if that's $500. I'm not sure if that's $500 a year or if it's $500 total. But that also may be needed.
Yeah, and I was, the point I was trying to make as well is that since we're doing this and we have Mindy, who's offered her expertise, is to kind of do a whole social media kind of marketing program, and make the new website tie in with the Facebook page, tie in with the Instagram, so it all has kind of a similar look and feel, as it were.
Yep. If I may say, the only thing about that is that may be biting off a little bit more than we want to chew, depending on how much Mindy wants to get into that. So we can do it in phases. I think it should be coordinated, but I think we can do phases where we do the website first and then social media second. But that's, you know, that's not my area of expertise. So.
Well, I think the Facebook thing would be relatively easy. And, you know, Stan, could you give Mindy, or Brian, can you give Mindy the administrative password? I wrote it down somewhere and I can't seem to locate it.
Yeah, right. I may have the same problem. I'll see if I can. I guess that was my question is, we're paying Nancy to migrate it and fix the security, but not redesign the website, not add new content, right?
No,
Well, that's to be decided.
yeah,
That's an option.
That's what we're discussing. That's why it's on the agenda tonight, Brian.
All right.
That is certainly an option, and it would certainly be the time to do it.
This is Kathy. How about have Nancy do the basics and get it changed over, and then since we have access after that point, we can do what we need to for artistic changes.
I'm not sure it's necessarily that easy just to kind of flip a switch and do all sorts of things. I mean, I know you can do that, and it depends. Once again, I don't want to, with all the other, once again, tech geeks in this call, except for maybe Mindy, you know, otherwise our new member is going to be overwhelmed with all the assignments we're going to be giving her. And I appreciate I appreciate her energy, but I also think we should kind of take it in steps. So.
Yeah, content entry should be no big deal. Like, they'll set it up and they'll be, you know, you'll be able to enter the content and it'll live exactly in the spot that it's, you know,
Right.
set up in the site. In order for me to say, oh, now we want to make this go over here, that'll be different, right? So I think there's usually a pretty easy way to enter content. And naturally, like, I'm just looking, I mean, like they said, right, the site hasn't been updated in some time. So just the links and things like that, I mean, they're not going to look exactly the same, nor, you know, would we really want them to? I don't think so. We'll have images, we'll have content, and it can link out even maybe to pay if we don't want to, you know, take the money on here. You could go to Facebook Pay or something. So I would assume that if we ask her to do what you guys are talking about, it'll, you know, suffice for now. And then we can kind of, like you said, leave the content as is for the time being, and then we'll be able to update it if and when we're ready.
Yeah, I would, I'm with Danny though. I would actually feel more confident in having Kate do this work, just because she's been a lot more receptive and a lot more, you know, on time, as it were, for what we need.
Yeah.
Well, why don't I just let her know what direction we're going and get an idea of her availability and the cost and sort of scope of work kind of a thing. Just kind of get a proposal maybe.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great.
Yes.
Agreed.
I think we need to start with that. But I have talked to her about it, so she knows that we're thinking about it.
Do we want to vote on an amount that we would authorize so that we don't have to have another meeting, you know, if you and she come to an agreement?
I think it's a little premature.
Yeah.
For me anyway. I don't really have enough understanding of this to feel confident about approving an amount. I know that, you know, I work for a little small company and they spend a huge amount of money on consultants for this kind of stuff. I mean, a lot. But that's something a little different.
Yeah, their business is sales over the internet. That's the lifeblood of their business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So why don't we plan for the next meeting that I'll come back to you with more detail, more information about the next step, you know, actually launching this. And maybe even actually a proposal with a price that we can then vote on.
Okay, great.
And then also want to maybe also get the idea of timing, Jonathan, as far as when she thinks she would be able to do it once we give her the go ahead.
I'll do that.
Okay, and while we're on this agenda item, I think we want to give Mindy the go ahead to open up the Instagram account for San Anselmo Open Space. So if you could do that.
Sure, great.
And Brian, you said you're going to find the administrator password and for our Facebook account and pass that along as well.
Yes.
And then my question is, and if you want to have access to the MailChimp, Kathy and I have the user and password for the MailChimp account. Do we want to send out the newsletter, the PDF version of the newsletter, to the 158 people on our email list?
Yes.
I think it's a good idea, Stan, but let Mindy and I get the fulfillment thing kind of resorted out before we do it, because we don't want to get a whole bunch of new inquiries for calendars and have a delay in responding. So maybe give it a few days or...
Okay, you just let me know when you want it out. I mean, we can put it on the Facebook page too.
Yeah.
So I was going to do both, but I was kind of waiting for the go-ahead from the committee. So that's...
I think putting it on the Facebook page would be great.
Yeah, but Jonathan doesn't want to be overwhelmed with the fulfillment part of it.
Well, just take a day or two for Mindy and I to get together, and I can get her all the stuff and get her set up to do that. So, you know, just a few days. I'll let you know.
Okay. Anything else on this agenda item before we move on?
I just wanted to ask, has anyone else gotten a newsletter?
I have not.
We took all the committee members off. We're paying first class postage.
So we assume that it went out to everybody?
Yeah, no, we've gotten orders for calendars from people that saw the newsletter.
Okay.
Yeah, my household got
Odd
two.
thing
So I
is-
guess I need to update and have you guys take one of my husband off, or so we don't get.
Here's an odd thing. We paid first class, and you're supposed to get undeliverables returned. And when I was at Town Hall today, there was not a single returned newsletter.
Jonathan, did you say that we got newsletters as well, or we were taken off the list?
No, all the committee members we took off because it's, expensive. We did first class this time.
Okay, so that's why. All right.
I can give you one if you like.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, wait a minute. We got them PDF, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, never mind. I still have mine then.
And you're on my email list, so when I send out the PDF version, you'll get a copy of it again.
Great.
And when we put it on the Facebook page, you can download it from there.
Can't wait.
Okay, moving on. The next agenda item is to discuss the next phase of the Trails and Paths project. Is that you, Nancy?
I think that's Brian.
I put that on. We had that subcommittee to look at make an inventory of all the paths and then categorize them and prioritize them. And then I dropped off that subcommittee, and I haven't seen anything else happen with that. But it seems like a good thing to do. The Eagle Scouts keep contacting me for projects, and they've already done one from Stone Court to Ridge Road. They've repaired all the steps. So I think we ought to put signs on that. And then there's another one right above that that's now going through the Boy Scout approval process. But Sean has already bought all the materials for it. It's all stacked up, ready to go. So we'll have another one there. And there are others I think that we can do with, fairly minimal effort and get those things rolling. As I've got another Eagle Scout looking for a project now. So I just wanted to get that moving again. If we have to reform that committee or just start meeting again.
Yeah, I've been much limited in my mobility. So what I used to be able to do, I can't do right now to go anything other than a flat, short trail pretty much. So I'm going to have to bow out. I mean, I wouldn't mind being involved, but I wouldn't be able to be involved to the extent that I was running around trying to look at things. I can't do that anymore right now.
If I could just step in here, please, Jonathan. I just wanted to do a recap that the first phase, was a planning phase where actually former Public Works Department member sort of spearheaded this, and then it moved into the Open Space Committee with other members of the public. And the end result was that we chose 5 locations that were non-controversial and, would be sort of a prototype. And so we had signs made for those. Those are the bridges downtown and
Morton
Lane, yeah. And one of those signs hasn't been posted yet. So that's done. The signs are up. And that was a success. I haven't heard anything one way or another, but they're there. And so, so then what we're looking at now, and the funding for that, by the way, was shared between the Open Space Committee and the town. We paid for half the cost of those signs. And so the next phase then would be, I think we would need to reform some kind of a committee and review the list of paths and trails and select another group And if there's some that if the ones that are included, we don't think are controversial and are, pretty straightforward, we can consider just installing signs. We also might want to consider an outreach component with the neighborhood where these exist and get some input on the naming and just let people know what we're up to. So all of a sudden, one day there isn't just a sign that appears and we get pushback.
Sounds good. It sounds like we need to reconfigure or reform the subcommittee.
I think so.
I was part of that committee at one time, so I can join that again.
I'll rejoin.
I'll rejoin.
Okay.
And it's this may be something that Paul would be interested in. I got an email from him that he had to work up in Santa Rosa tonight, which is why he's absent, but we might want to reach out to Paul and see if he wants to participate in that.
And ask Henry as well, our youth commissioner, see if that's something he would be interested in. He had to leave. He had a school project that was pressing for his time today. He gave us his apologies before the meeting started.
Well, we
Brian, this is Kathy.
Yeah.
One trail that I remember goes near Jonathan straight down to what is that road, Jonathan, at the bottom? There's like, do you know which trail I'm talking about? It's already got some old steps that are falling apart, but it's obviously pretty well used.
In between Morton and Scenic, Morton Lane.
Is that is Morton down at the bottom
And then
of your
Foothill,
hill?
it crosses Foothill, which is kind of right in the middle of it, because we already got signs put in there.
Oh, it's already done, but I was thinking of reconstructing the trail, like at the bottom. I remember it being pretty dilapidated, like that might be an Eagle Scout job.
Yeah. Now, the PG&E did some work there, and I don't know whether they funded it or not, but some of the stairs at the very bottom got rebuilt. But there's certainly more that need help. And the third sign, one of the most important signs, the one at Scenic and the pathway, never got installed. It's still in the corporation yard, I guess.
Nancy had her hand up.
Yeah, the PG&E really didn't do anything with the steps. They made the landing at the bottom more aligned with the road, but the steps are pretty much the same, at least the last time I was up there.
Someone was working on steps the last time we were there.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was town or PG&E, but somebody was rebuilding some of the steps.
Well, I would suggest that the subcommittee, which now has 4 confirmed members and maybe 2 additional members, should meet and report back on what you propose.
Walter,
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Walter was a citizen who really got us started on that, and I think he should be somehow included, or at least informed.
No.
Definitely.
Right. I can write to him.
Thank you.
Okay,
And
Danny?
yeah, just to confirm, since I'm doing the minutes, as far as the individuals who are going to be on the committee, is it Karen, Brian, Nancy, and Peter?
I'm not going to be on right now.
Okay. So who was the 4th? I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought it was Nancy, but Jonathan suggested Paul would be interested, but
Well, but he hasn't said, yeah.
and I
So-
suggested Henry because
Okay, but for right now, then it's Karen, Brian, and Peter with some other potential, right?
Right.
Okay.
all right. Anything else on the paths and trails agenda item that we should discuss before moving on?
I wanted to mention, oh, There was, I think Leonard Charles was in the audience, but he just dropped off, so. And no one has had their hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Elise. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is to consider future review of town-owned open space management. You doing this, Jonathan, or is Elise?
Yeah. Well, this is actually something that I was bringing up, and I'm hoping that Elise will be able to contribute, because I'm putting it on this here, and I phrased it as for consider future review, because this is a really, really big topic, but it's something that I feel is important and is timely for the town to start thinking about and addressing. And I was reviewing our general plan, and in the open space element, there's objectives and policies, and the policies under the objective 1, there's one that says one of the tasks to be taken on is to examine current management, maintenance arrangements, and needs for existing open space lands and explore alternatives for meeting management goals. And so we have these open space parks: Sorich, Fode, Kite Hill, Hawthorne Canyon, Red Hill. There's one out, blanking on the name of it, small one right behind you, Stan. Anyway, we have these areas, and they exist. Halpern Park, yeah. And some work gets done. Sean does a little bit of mowing in some of the areas, and we've had some goats, and we have volunteers that pull some broom, and we have some volunteers that have done some trail work, but we really do not have, as other agencies, land agencies do, any kind of overarching plan or budgeting in particular to address managing our open space, which is, it's a responsibility, and there are issues that need to be taken care of. So anyway, I'd like to have us begin a consideration of some kind of planning around managing the lands that we have. Do you have any thoughts on that, Elise?
I invited Scott Schneider to participate with us too, and I was hoping maybe he has some thoughts.
I think that's a great topic of discussion, Jonathan, because we do have some public works maintenance activities like mowing for fire safety and things like that in some of the open space areas, but there's a lot of trail maintenance and stair maintenance and tree work that needs to be done in different areas, and plus the signage that you mentioned. And so yeah, there's some good discussion there of how to manage that and to fund that.
Yeah. So do you have any thoughts on how we would go about undertaking this? Would you think we'd have a subcommittee maybe, or maybe do we need direction from the town council to do this, or what do you think?
I would think a subcommittee maybe could investigate and come up with kind of like a list of what's required at each of the different open space areas that the town has. And some, may have, the mowing for fire safety, and some may have, more tree issues or things like that. And so we just kind of first get a handle on what needs to be done, and then we can look at what can be done with volunteers and what definitely has to be done by, say, tree experts or things like that, contractors. And then we can kind of get at our, get the problem and the issues identified and see what kind of magnitude that is.
Yeah. So, we have these land management agencies in Marin. The Marin County Open Space District, Marin Municipal Water District manages, 20,000 acres on Mount Tam. We have state parks, national parks, and all of them are in the business of managing land, and I'm sure that there's resources to, I actually put in a call today to Marin Open Space District to kind of get some ideas or feedback from them on how you would approach, putting together from scratch sort of a management policy implementation plan. So I'm hoping to get maybe a little bit of feedback on that from some of these other folks that are doing it.
Renee had his hand up.
Yeah, so related to the management aspects of the open space, I had a long conversation with Sean about, for you, Mindy, Sean Condry is our public works director, and Scott works for Sean. And we had a long conversation about what I proposed was a tree safety program. And I'm not sure how much of this you've digested, Scott, but I adapted a version of a tree safety program from Santa Clara County, which I thought was really good. And basically it addresses both the parks and open space, and essentially would map out areas where you think, where we could all agree that there needs to be some safety zoning, areas around picnic tables, benches, or people where people congregate. And the idea is to basically only manage tree safety in areas where there could be a hazard for a tree falling or a branch falling onto somebody, and leave all the other trees alone. Now this is just for tree safety based on hazards. It has nothing to do with potential vegetation management, which is a whole other issue, which I think should probably be addressed in this management plan, because we don't really have any guidance as to what the town should or should not be doing in our open space, which is what I think Jonathan is getting at as well, plus recreational uses, et cetera. Right now, the town basically has been doing things on their own. The town staff, when they mow around the edges of the open space, like at the bottom of Fade Park and other places in Sorich, but they use goats to manage some vegetation, but there's no guidelines on where and when and whether they should be doing some of this stuff, or whether they should be doing more of it. And so it is basically being left to the town's management discretion and experts, rather than them following a management plan, which is very different than most of the other agencies in the county, the Park Service or the state parks. They all follow management plans. So I think I could see us moving into this direction, and I think I would support working on this so we can have an idea of what should or should not be done in certain places.
So, Jonathan here. I didn't mean that we would take any action or anything. It was just to lay out the concept and have a little discussion. And I think later on we can, coalesce and bring it together into more of an action plan.
Yeah,
It sounds like most people are kind of open to this.
Yeah, I think Scott's suggestion is kind of appropriate. He suggested some kind of a subcommittee to just do an investigation to see what's going on and report back, not taking any action at this time, but just to start looking at it. If I'm paraphrasing you correctly, Scott.
Yes. But I do think it's it would be very helpful to have some guidelines and a plan. I know my mother-in-law lives up in Novato, and she's part of her neighborhood Firewise program, and she was having some complications a couple years ago with Marin County open space, where there was a field of dry grass, and the neighborhood was worried about it for fire safety, and Marin County Park said, well, we have a policy of only mowing within like 30 feet of a road, and otherwise we don't touch it. And so they had a very firm policy on that they needed to work out with the neighborhood, because there was a lot of fear from a fire perspective there. So, I think that's one of the things that, in your subcommittee can start investigating, where it's appropriate to do clearing for fire safety, and where you want to leave the open space area more natural and let it do its own thing.
Well, I propose that, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm maxed out till the first of the year, and that we make this a project for 2021. In the meantime, I'm very happy to speak with people that I know in some of the agencies and just kind of feel them out for how you would tackle starting kind of from scratch on putting together a management plan. And I'm happy, I certainly would want to be a part of that subcommittee.
Yeah, I agree, Jonathan. With the holidays approaching and everything, it's quite a project to take on. Unless Renee.
So why don't we just?
No, not till next year. I think it's a good
We'll
idea.
make this a 2021 priority.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion on this agenda item before we move on? Okay, that's it for the agenda. Now we move into open time. And before I turn over open time to the group, I just want to throw out there, because I'm monitoring the San Anselmo email account, and I think it was the realtor for the property at 272 Los Angeles Boulevard sent an email to the Open Space Committee, which I forwarded to, I believe it was Brian and Jonathan. And I emailed them back and said that we would talk about it tonight and that I would get back to them. So I'm just throwing that out for open time.
Well,
is this the property that's got the real steep, like cliffs next to Los Angeles that goes all the way up to the top to our Memorial Ridge Trail?
Yeah, I believe so, and it's one of the parcels that we have on our open space master plan, so general plan. So.
Yeah, so the property is the lower end of it fronts on Los Angeles, about 5 acres, slopes steeply up. It had at one time some landslide issues at Los Angeles Boulevard. What you'll see is a lot of rock riprap at the base where they were mitigating this landslide years ago. And I looked online, and it's on the market right now for, I believe it's $1 million.
What was the address again?
272.
It's a great.
So what did the realtor want?
So, we can't make any decisions about this because it's open time. We can only just discuss it a little bit. But my just intuition is that the price is very high. They actually it was on the market in 2018 for $900,000, and then they raised it $100,000 since then. And I think, given the constraints there, that might be a lot for that particular property. The other thing I'm concerned about would be tackling any sort of negotiations and potential use of our resources when we have, a major project in Bald Hill pending, where we might want to be committing a large amount of our resources.
It is on our target list to be protected.
It is.
Let's
Yeah,
offer
this is
them
actually within the-
100,000.
I'm sorry.
Why don't you, I was gonna say, can I suggest putting it on the next agenda and then you could talk about it more?
All right.
This is actually within the town limits, right?
No, it's in the county.
Oh, must be, there is one that's right in the town limits. I'm looking at the Marin map viewer.
Well, it is open time, and I think Elise is right. If we want to dive into it, we're going to have to put it on the agenda for next month. I just want to know what I tell the realtor. I mean, I told him I would email them back or contact them. So
What did he
Say that
ask?
we need.
What did the realtor ask?
Well, I forwarded the email to you, so that's exactly what it is. I don't remember offhand.
I don't either.
I would just say that we need to have further discussion about it. We weren't able to come to any conclusion at this meeting.
We're looking into it, under consideration. All right.
Under consideration. Dan, can I announce a few things
Absolutely.
real quick?
Yeah.
I don't know if Scott's still with us, but I want to congratulate Scott and his daughter because they accomplished a major project at Sorge Park as part of his daughter's Eagle Scout process. They installed some fencing, and there'll be signage and anti-erosion jute netting over an unauthorized use trail that's been created that was going up the face of the hill to the rock fort. So they had a whole bunch of volunteers, and Scott really did a lot to get it organized, and it's a huge help for Sorge Park, and I just wanted to really thank him.
Yeah, great job.
Go ahead, Scott.
I appreciate that, and I really appreciate Jonathan, you and Brian for identifying the project and walking it with me. And like Brian was saying, he was receiving other requests from other Eagle Scouts. And so I'll be happy that whenever you guys identify different projects to go out and help scope them out, and then get them, the proper scope to the scout so they can submit to their reviewer so they can get their project approved and then hopefully complete it for us. So be on the lookout for more projects like that around the open space areas.
And we do have someone in the audience that has his hand raised, Mr. Vernon, who's come to talk to you about an idea he has.
Go ahead.
Yep, just hit the unmute, and thanks a lot for all your time. I know it's late, I have, I guess, two quick topics. The first is your Facebook page. I have checked out that calendar several times because I'm a Scotch broom fanatic, and I've cleared out my yard, and have been looking for volunteer opportunities to do more. So I'm glad to have that addressed, and would love to help out with that. But the main reason why I wanted to talk tonight, it's sort of a follow-up to, I guess, the open time I had several weeks ago with the committee. I didn't know exactly if the committee would, your goals or I guess purpose fell into this particular topic that was interesting to me. But I do think that it aligns well with some of your goals of preserving and protecting habitat. Specifically interesting to me are connectivity and wildlife corridors. And I understand that the Open Space Committee has several parks that provide a great space And I think that as I started researching this topic more, I see a movement nationally, in the state, and some of it close in the Bay Area, that helps connectivity and reduces the fragmentation that I think has been occurring for not that long. I read your newsletter. I got it. Thank you very much. I read that it's, about the Miwoks being here for millennials, and that this area has only been in a matter of time, or I guess time of Earth and history, not that long, just less than 200 years. And in 200 years, there's been a lot of fragmentation, fragmentation from roads and fencing that really impact the wildlife. So I live in an area on West Hillside, adjacent to a spot that used to be on the list for the Open Space Committee as a potential property to buy in the 1980s. It's kind of at the top of a hill. It's a RH1 property, but it sold. It didn't. I think at the time the owner said that there wasn't enough money to buy it. It's a really nice area, and over the past couple of years that I've been here, I've seen a lot of fencing go up that I feel is not particularly helpful for connectivity, and it really fragments the land. And I think that I'm not necessarily against fencing, but it's more the type of fencing that can allow wildlife migration. I looked at the fence guidelines in the city in the general plan. I see that there's specific guidelines for Bald Hill, thanks to the Open Space Committee who helped develop those guidelines, I believe, in the late 70s or 80s. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of I guess current legislation in areas like Ventura County. Los Angeles has some great guidelines for people to follow. Los Gatos does, let alone some of the broader areas in the mountain ranges. We don't live in the mountains. I understand we're not in Utah or Colorado, but they've got some really interesting guidelines. And so I created a draft resolution that I think is interesting, and I'm looking for support. I didn't write it all. Elise kind of took a sort of framework and helped me with it. And I think what I was looking for is a potential agenda item for you to review it and just consider it as a potential something that you might be able to support with the city council should it get to that point. Because I think the impact that the Open Space Committee has on San Anselmo and Marin at large, it could be really helpful if it's something that is interesting and if it's written in a way that you feel you could support. I think that the guidelines that are in there, although they're not specific to the open space, I think would help the connectivity of all your open spaces. And so I'd love to be able to send that to you and have you consider it. And so if you see an email from me with that, I just wanted to kind of attach a bit of, just give it a personal touch by speaking tonight.
Jim, thank you so much. I remember going to a meeting in Ross where they were considering building a lot up in the hill, and that was the exact argument I raised, that the fencing of the entire property would cut off wildlife migratory or access to the adjacent open space parcels, and I see that where I live here, the wildlife comes out of the hill. Specific, what I see are the deer, and they have to cross Butterfield every day to get to the creek because that's where the water is. And there are only a couple of properties that don't have fences up that the deer end up having to use to get down to the creek. And so I'm cognizant of the wildlife corridors that are essential for their well-being. So
yeah, there's some really, I think, interesting, as I mentioned, regulations that have been written already. For example, how low a fence can be, or if it's a perimeter type of fencing, or if it's a type of fencing that neighborhoods could have input in. I'm not against fencing. I think fencing serves the purpose of privacy. People like to, grow plants, and it's not about that. It's just about, I think, partly making people aware that there are alternatives, and that sometimes people just do what they know.
Sure. So if you send a lease, Jonathan, myself, your draft resolution, will certainly give it all the consideration. And if we feel it needs to be agendized for action, we'll do so.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. All right. Anything else on open time, Jonathan?
Just two quick things. I just want to report some bad news that unfortunately, Renee and Brian and I last Friday reinstalled the no bike signs in Fode Park that had been vandalized previously. And subsequently, they've almost immediately been re-vandalized for the third time. So we're yet again going to try reinstalling them with additional reinforcements. But anyway, it's pretty discouraging. The last little piece of news I have is that this is good news. The conservation easement for the spring lot up on Bald Hill is moving along pretty expeditiously. In fact, I actually spent some time today working on the draft language, so this is all really good.
So that's just the spring
That's
lot,
great.
Jonathan. What happened to the tank lot?
That's not being addressed in this, just the spring lot.
Okay, anything else on open time? All right, I guess we got to pick our next meeting. I'm looking at the calendar right now. The
December.
16th. Does that sound right, Danny?
That's right.
Yeah, December 16th is right.
All right. Then I will adjourn the meeting, and Paul would be happy. I got it done before 9 o'clock again.
Everybody else is
Great
disappointed.
job.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
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 No.